when I was president, in the aftermath of tragedies, when Dylan Roof went into a black church and, based on his own words, shot a group of folks who were engaged in Bible study and who had invited him in. And according to him, it was for racist reasons. As President of the United States, my response was not, who may have influenced this troubled young man to engage in that kind of violence, and now let me go after my political opponents and use that.
Now, if you listen to President Barack Obama, because we're not going to play that game of former President Barack Obama like they do on the left, President Barack Obama claims that he never used his political office to go after his political opponents. Well, shall we test that? Well, what do we have here? We have the NBC reporting that the IRS apologizes for targeting conservative groups. The Internal Revenue Service is apologizing for inappropriately flagging conservative political groups for additional reviews during the 2012 election to see if they were violating their tax-exempt status. This was under the Obama presidency, and he says he never went after his political opponents. Well, you ask, who are the opponents that were being attacked by the IRS? It was the Tea Party, or people who bore the name Patriot in their organizational names. And we know that Barack Obama is the poster child for anything that has to do with people who tend to align too strongly with the U.S. national identity. They tend to give him the heebie-jeebies. So definitely this was him going after his political opponents. And anyone bearing the name Patriot or Tea Party wasn't from the Democrat Party. We also have this footage by Roseanne Barr where she told the world that Michelle Obama called Bob Iger to ask him or to put pressure on him to fire her from her own show. And when he did that, Barack Obama personally called Bob Iger to thank him.
I say, these are my jokes.
Yeah.
Because she's the one that got me fired, you know.
Michelle?
Yeah, she's the one that called ABC and said I had to go.
Are you serious?
My
What?
racist tweet. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this public information?
I've said it.
Michelle Obama.
She said it. It's got to be true.
It is too. Now listen. Bob Iger, who fired me, said his first phone call was to Valerie Jarrett to apologize to her, and that Michelle Obama also got on the phone with them, and that Obama called him afterward to thank him for firing me. So that's in the paper.
And so you have Roseanne canceled because she made a joke that they interpreted as being racist. And even after she apologized for it, they still went ahead and canceled her show. And we had Barack Obama calling Bob Iger to say, thank you so much for canceling this person we didn't like very much. It takes a huge amount of intellectual dishonesty to sit on a stage and say, we never did that while we were in office, while there's lots of evidence out there to prove that you did it while you were in office. And while the Democrats walk around doing their media tour, trying to tell the world how they are on the moral high ground when it comes to censorship and cancellations, here is Chuck Schumer right before Tucker Carlson was canceled and subsequently fired from Fox News.
Rupert Murdoch, who has admitted they were lies and said he regretted it, has a special obligation to stop Tucker Carlson from going on tonight now that he's seen how he has perverted and slimed the truth, and from letting him go on again and again and again. Not because their views deserve such opprobrium, but because our democracy depends on it.
So here's Chuck saying that the reason why you cancel conservatives is not because their views deserve, to be aired, but because you need to protect democracy. And that is the language that they will consistently use to justify the outrageous actions that they take. If you go back to any of their regimes, Obama, Clinton, go as far back as you want, it's always to save democracy. And then when it happens to them, democracy is at risk. Do you get the double standards that they play at whenever these things happen? It's hard to miss. Now, in case you've been under a rock for the last few days, this is what happened. Disney's ABC, according to Variety, said it would take Jimmy Kimmel's popular late night show off its schedule indefinitely after one of the biggest owners of TV stations in the US, Next Star Media, said it intended to preempt airings of the program following remarks the host made about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. In his monologue Monday night, Kimmel said that the MAGA gang was trying to score political points off Kirk's murder. Kirk, a prominent conservative activist, was shot and killed on September 10th at a debate at Utah State University. Now, what exactly did Jimmy Kimmel say that got everyone up in arms? Here's his statement. We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang trying to characterize this kid who killed Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. And this was outrageous because just that day it had been released that he was not a conservative, that he was left-leaning, that he had, certain objections to his father's political leanings as a conservative, and it was very clear that day. And yet he got up and he went ahead and said this in his monologue. Now, people are wondering, why is it so important that, they get it right that the shooter was actually not conservative but was leftist, and, Charlie Kirk is dead. We shouldn't be, threading needles and so on. Here's the thing. These people are trying to minimize the impact of the rhetoric that has been flowing constantly for the last 15 years from mainstream media. They refuse to take responsibility for what happened, and they're trying to turn it back on the conservative movement to make it look like the conservative movement is the problem. The conservative movement are the ones who have most of the violence, like you have Mehdi Hassan claiming falsely that is the case, and on. And then it culminates in Jimmy Kimmel standing up to say, it was your guys that killed Charlie Kirk, and that was a bridge too far. Now, before you say, well, hold on there, it wasn't necessary for him to be cancelled. The people on the left would never do anything like that. Well, we just saw Barack Obama do it. We saw Chuck Schumer calling for the firing and cancellation of Tucker Carlson from Fox News. And then let's see what the wise and noble people at MSNBC did just after Jimmy Kimmel was fired and what they said after Tucker Carlson got canceled.
ABC made the announcement Kimmel would indeed be taken off the air indefinitely. And this is just the latest chapter in Donald Trump's ongoing campaign to crack down on free speech, dominate the media, and essentially render the First Amendment meaningless. So it was for the journeyman cable news host Tucker Carlson, just fired from his third network. He believed he could say anything, no matter how vile, no matter how disgusting, no matter how offensive, no matter how dehumanizing or belittling. And if you act like a sociopath over and over and over and over, you will become unpopular on the national stage. That's just like a basic principle. Over time, probably not going to work out well for you in the long run. Eventually, people will be rightly offended.
So they put on sackcloth and ashes when one of theirs is cancelled for a good reason, and then they pop the champagne when someone on the other side is cancelled for using his free speech privileges. Did I miss something? Once you start seeing the hypocrisy, it's hard to unsee it. You see how President Barack Obama sent the IRS after his political opponents. We see how his wife, Michelle Obama, called ABC to cancel Roseanne Barr's show. And we see how Barack Obama himself called Bob Iger to congratulate him and thank him for canceling Roseanne. We see Chuck Schumer calling for the termination of Tucker Carlson from Fox News, and we see MSNBC rejoicing over that cancellation from MSNBC. Now, this doesn't just sit at politicians and media people. Even the influencers had a part to play or had something to say about the cancellation of a conservative voice. So after Jimmy Kimmel was canceled, David Pakman said this: one of the hallmarks of authoritarianism is to terrify people into self-censorship. ABC ending Kimmel's show is the perfect example of this. Now, if Jimmy Kimmel's opinion was consistent, we wouldn't be saying this about him. But Jimmy Kimmel is a hypocrite because just a few years back, he said the exact opposite when Roseanne Barr was canceled. He said, big win in the battle of ideas and free speech. Roseanne said what she wanted to say. ABC made the business decisions that were right for them. So, David Pakman, if he was intellectually consistent, he should have said, well, ABC made the business decisions that were right for them by canceling Jimmy Kimmel. These guys are hypocrites. You can't trust them, and you shouldn't be believing them when it comes to your convictions. Now, there's a lot to say about this news story, from the dishonesty of politicians to the hypocrisy and double standards in the media and the two-facedness of left-leaning influencers. But I Am Leah says it best. Democrats are the only group on the planet that can gun down an innocent man, celebrate his death, mock his wife, destroy memorials for him, lie about who killed him, and somehow still make themselves the victims. We saw neighbors, friends, principals, teachers, professors, doctors, pilots, thousands and thousands of people who lean left come out on social media to celebrate the brutal murder of a man, a father, a husband, and a hero to millions of young people everywhere. And to show how they lack the self-awareness to be introspective and to ask the question, should we be responding this way? The leadership of the Democrat Party refused to fully condemn this act because they know that doing so would lose them their constituents, because they have succeeded in amassing a large constituency of mentally deranged people. And that is true, because no one who's normal would react that way in public when someone was brutally murdered. In the past, you could do it in private. You could sit in hushed tones and say, look, we're happy that this guy got snuffed. But they did it in the open, and they have millions and millions of views. And now they're complaining when the consequences for behaving like barbarians begins to visit them. Now, you might come into the comment section to say, well, not all Democrats or not all people who vote left are disgusting human beings. And I agree. I am referring to the people who stepped out of their comfort zones, or actually into their comfort zones, if you look at people who did it on Blue Sky, and they expressed their glee at the horrendous act that took place last week. And if you are one of those people saying, well, we're not all bad, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'd like for you to respond in the comment section. Seeing what Barack Obama, Chuck Schumer, the host on MSNBC, and one of the top influencers from the left had to say about canceling someone, and had a different take when it came to someone who was from their side, plus seeing all of the joy and jubilation at the murder of Charlie Kirk. Answer me one thing. Do you think the Democrat Party can be saved? Leave that in the comment section and let me know. Let's have some wholesome conversation. And if you watched this long, I think you're a super fan. And I'd like to invite you to leave a super thank in the comment section. It's a way you can donate to this video to show how you appreciate the content. And if you want to have a closer walk with me, consider joining the membership. It's a monthly subscription, and it allows you to get things like members only videos. You get to see videos before the public gets to see them. And we will have special calls and group conversations where we talk and get to know each other, and you get to know what the plan for the channel is, and on some issues get to vote as to the direction and the future of the channel. Doing that will help keep this channel independent of requiring sponsors who will insist that we say some things and not say some other things. I would love to have you join the family. Thanks for watching and for supporting the channel with your likes and subscriptions and your financial support. Until next time, God bless you, and I'll see you on the next one.